All right, UFC 299 pretty much delivered on all fronts. It was an incredible card, lived up to the hype. Let's see what happened and the biggest takeaways from it. Starting with the main event, O'Malley, Cheeto. Although O'Malley was the favorite, there were still a lot of questions, and this was kind of the moment for him to prove that he's a true champion. A lot of people thought the Aljo fight maybe could have been a one-off, a lucky shot, etc. This was kind of that moment to be like, look, you're probably not going to finish Cheeto, but throughout 5 rounds, can you perform at a championship level? And going into this fight, Sean wasn't even the fan favorite. So he kind of had to prove like, look, if you're booing me or whether you're cheering for me, it doesn't matter what you think of me star-wise. I'm going to perform at that top level. What was interesting, though, from the walkout was he wasn't getting as booed as much as he was during the press conference. So, I don't know, to me, that was like, okay. But then going into the fight, we heard the Cheeto chants. We know who the fan favorite was in the arena. First round, very typical from both guys. Cheeto, of course, starting slow, getting reads, picking his shots. And Sean O'Malley, quick, kind of, jabbing at him, kicking him a little bit. Kind of like testing the waters. O'Malley was clearly faster and more accurate. Then in the second round, O'Malley even more dominant, taking the lead even further, and then hits Cheeto with that knee that everybody heard. And I know Cheeto is tough, but that knee was brutal and probably would have ended the fight for a lot of guys in that division. And it was interesting to see Sean O'Malley notice that Cheeto was still in it even after that knee and a barrage of punches and kicks. He's like, okay, I got to slow down so I don't get burnt out. And then right at the end of the round, he drops Cheeto. And it's just looking worse and worse for him as the fight progresses and better for O'Malley. But the thing is, though, as hurt as Cheeto is at this point and then throughout the fight as well, there's always that glimmer of like, will he land a big shot that will stung O'Malley? Because that's the story of Cheeto. That's what he does. So throughout the fight, I'm constantly thinking, is Cheeto going to have that moment? Is Cheeto going to have that moment? So as dominated as he was, I'm still thinking, could something happen? Then going into the third round, Cheeto is starting to have some moments landing, 1 punch, 2 punch. When Cheeto made the fight messy, that's when he started to have some moments and he landed some good shots. And O'Malley doesn't get hit much. So when he does get hit and you notice that he kind of reacts a little bit after, you start to think, okay, maybe Cheeto can land a couple big ones and that could change the whole fight. Then there was that moment where after the round ended, O'Malley was staying in the wrong corner and Cheeto told him, you got to get the F out because you're in the wrong spot. And it makes you think, did Cheeto sting O'Malley a little bit in those moments? The thing is, when Cheeto had these moments, they just didn't last long enough and they didn't continue and they didn't build momentum for him. It would kind of just come and then go. He'd blitz in, get into the inside, land something, and then it would, okay, get reset, get back, and then O'Malley lands, boom, 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 boom. It's like, okay, now you're way behind again. Then another moment where I thought Sean O'Malley would end it was when he hurt Cheeto's eye, and then Cheeto's covering his eye, and he can't see, and then he's just beating him up again, and I'm like, man, this is just never ending. How much will Cheeto take? Like, how much can Cheeto take? Like, how long can he go before he's just like, I'm done? And like, it never happened, which from O'Malley's side is nerve-wracking because he can't gas himself out and also exhausting. Then the fifth round was exactly the story of the fight. Sean O'Malley dominating. Cheeto would land a little bit, but it wouldn't, mount up to something. And then you get to the end, O'Malley knew there was like no time left, so he's just let me end it on a blitz, boom, 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 boom. And then he gets caught with that body shot. And ultimately, it's nothing because it was at the end of the fight. O'Malley probably wouldn't have put himself in that position if it wasn't the end of the fight. But optically, you look at it, O'Malley at the end of the fight, sitting down, breathing heavy, like, damn, that body shot really hurt. Cheeto, as beat up as he was still just walking around the octagon perfectly fine, seemingly. Like, what the hell? And although O'Malley completely outclassed him, dog walked him, those little moments where he got stung just a little bit, and then that last body shot at the end where he's sitting down, it makes you wonder and just question a little bit, how durable will O'Malley be if he can fight someone that can land a bit more on him? Then you look at an Ilia Porier. If that fight happens, how could Sean handle that with the power? And obviously, Porier is a good boxer, so he can probably land, right? Et cetera, et cetera. It just makes you think a little bit, right? Obviously, I'm not trying to be dramatic or anything like, oh, like, is Sean O'Malley weak or da-da-da-da. It just makes you think a little bit. Ultimately, though, completely one-sided performance from O'Malley. And Cheeto got put to the hospital immediately. That face looked awful. Like, it looked really, really bad. And we've never seen Cheeto like that, even in the Sandhagen fight. And this is really just the story of Cheeto, which is he always starts slow. He honestly gets outstruck in a lot of his fights, but he always finds a way to win. But now, against the top level guys, he's not able to do that. And we've seen it happen multiple times. So is it time to change it up? And for O'Malley, despite the questions about his stardom, despite not being the fan favorite, despite the Cheeto chance, no matter what you can say about O'Malley and his stardom and his character or whatever, he shows up, and he has shown up every single time, and he is getting better and better and better and looks better each fight that he's in. And that's the sign of a long reigning champion. But then we go to the call out, and O'Malley surprised me because he was saying, okay, Merab's going to be next, not that long ago. And then he goes back to the Ilya call out. But the difference with this time, though, I noticed a lot more people are starting to lean into that Sean O'Malley-Ilya fight now. I'm seeing a lot of people get more excited about it. I'm seeing a lot more people want that fight. Probably because how well Sean O'Malley just performed and, the recency and you get hype, etc. But we know there's so many big fights to be made in that division alone. He still has Moroz. The Corey Sandhagen matchup is huge. And then for Ilya, you could argue he has a bigger fight in his own division if he gets Max Holloway or even the Volk rematch. For me, it's just about timing, and right now is not the time. But if they get their title defenses and they keep going, this matchup could be ginormous down the line and could happen, but just not now. Then we go to Porier BSD. This was a classic young gun coming up against a veteran, and the veteran showed up and reminded you he's that guy. And this is why Porier wanted 5 rounds, is because he knew BSD was going to do this. Come at him, hard pace, try to catch him right away and end the fight early. But Porier knew, let me weather the storm. If I can do it, then I'm going to end this guy. And that's literally what happened. BSD, first round, put on a crazy pace with the takedown and trying to control him. And he landed a bit, and he was controlling really well. And he had Porier in some dangerous positions. But Porier, the veteran, composed, didn't get finished. He did show some signs of like, okay, what the hell are you doing? Jumping those guillotines. And he made a lot of mistakes that put him in vulnerable positions. And even his coaches were like, stop jumping the guillotine. I'm thinking the same thing. Everyone's thinking the same thing. But Porier didn't give a f. In the second round is when I got worried because Porier, even though we clipped him, BSD was still in there, took him down and controlled him again. I'm like, what? If BSD can out-tough Porier's strikes, then he's just going to keep coming and then keep being on top of him and controlling him down. And then, of course, Porier, not listening to his coach, jumps the guillotine, makes mistakes, and puts himself in a vulnerable position that he didn't really have to be in. Again, he gets mounted and his back taken, flattened out, and I'm like, are you kidding me? This is how it's going to end for Porier in this fight? Like, he just clipped him, and then he makes a mistake, and then now he's in a terrible position. This is how it's going to end, like this? Porier gets out and lands some more, and that was the problem with BSD. He didn't care if he got hit. He was going to keep coming forward, and that led to his demise. Because although that pressure was bothering Porier, it left BSD so vulnerable. And Porier reminded everybody why you don't just stay in the pocket with him, because he's going to clip you and you're going to go to sleep. It was a wild fight and a nerve-wracking fight if you're a Porier fan, but he just showed time and time again why he deserves to be in the top upper echelon of the lightweight division. That was an insane performance from Porier, and a big one for the fans and a big one for himself to also be like, yo, I'm going to take this younger guy and I'm going to finish him. Put me back up here. And this becomes super interesting now, because Porier is now in the conversation with Islam Makhachev despite losing to Gaethje, because Gaethje has this Max Holloway fight. And I keep bringing it up because it could be a problem, right? Because if Islam is going to fight in June, they clearly, his manager and everybody, they say he's going to fight in June. That's what they want. I don't know if it's ultimately going to happen. But if Islam is set to fight in June, it may be too soon for the winner of Oliveira Sarukian and the winner of Gaethje Holloway to get Islam Makhachev. Porier might be able to sneak in there and get that title shot. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's a real option and possibility. All right, now we go to Holland and MVP Michael Venom Page making his UFC debut. Long awaited, long anticipated. And this was a controversial fight from the fan standpoint of like, some people loved the fight and thought it was fun, entertaining, and a great showing. And then some people didn't like it. And of course, some fans were booing in the arena. And I did not understand that. MVP has a funny, awesome walkout. First of all, goes into the cage and performs just as entertaining as the walkout. He's bouncing around, he's lunging in, and he's landing bombs and dominating Kevin Holland. And for some reason, when there's a little bit of a lag in the fight, the fans start booing. I'm like, what are you booing about? MVP just gave you 3 awesome rounds of domination. And he did it in a fun, quirky style that we don't really ever see. Holland had no answers for MVP, and that was his problem. The fight itself, though, for me personally, it was fun. It was unique. I'm like, that's what I expected, and I enjoyed it. I'm like, why are people complaining, saying it was boring? I'm like, boring? He's landing bombs on Holland. Like, what? It wasn't a Michael Chandler versus Dan Hooker type of statement, but it was a great showing. And he put himself in contendership with the rest of the top of the welterweight division. You're telling me you wouldn't want to see MVP fight again? You wouldn't be excited for it? MVP versus Wonderboy, MVP versus Ian Gary. MVP is a super fun addition to the welterweight division. Then we go to JDM and Burns, another fight that delivered. and it did not go as I expected. The fight was kind of back and forth. There was kind of a difference between power from Gilbert Burns versus volume from JDM. Then we go to the third round. Burns controlling JDM. He's about to take this fight away. And of course, in hindsight, we look, he was down 2 rounds. JDM was down 2 rounds. All Gilbert had to do was just stay and keep control of JDM. And JDM smartly was able to escape and landed the perfect knee. He was down 2-0. That was a huge comeback for JDM. Like, he was a couple minutes away from losing that fight. Doesn't matter what happened in that third round pretty much. And JDM landed the perfect strike to hurt Burns badly, and then it was over. And he made an incredible comeback. That was an awesome fight to watch. And not only was he impressive with the performance, he's then impressive with the calling out Shavkat. He could have called out a lot of fights that are easier, but he went for Shavkat because he wants to beat arguably the best contender in that division. I got to give him props for that. It just shows that he's a dog and he's about that. He's about it. And for Burns, I do wonder what's next and what he wants with his age and his position right now. Then we go to Petr Yan and Song Yadong, and this was a must win for Petr Yan. Like, he needed this win. He had a rough streak. He only beat Corey Sandhagen, and since then has lost a lot of fights. He needed this win. His fans wanted this win. This was a big moment for Petr Yan to be like, look, I'm still worthy of being in the top of this division. And starting off, Song Yadong, looked really good. He had his moments winning that first round. But then after that first round, Petr Yan really started to get comfortable on the feet. He really started to get that rhythm. And it started to look like, oh, this is the Petr Yan we love. This is the Petr Yan we know. And it was just a beautiful performance from him. Veteran performance from him. He said, look, I'm still worthy of being in this spot. I'm still worthy of being that guy. And in a must-win fight, Petr Yan finally gets that W back. For Song Yadong, he still has a lot of growth to make. He still has time, though, to do it. But he needs to change it up. And then for Yan, I wonder what's next. And I'm thinking maybe put him against Vera. That's a good matchup with their standing right now. I think that's a good one to make. Then we go to Blaydes and Almeida. And I was wondering, especially with Almeida's last performance and the reaction people gave him, the very harsh criticism, the boos, how boring it was. Was he going to, change his game a little bit in terms of damage? Because this fight was on its way to be another snooze fest from Almeida, another boring fight, and Blaydes saved the day. He said, F it, I'm going to pull a Pereira versus Yuri Prohaska. When you get me down, I'm going to put my weight on you and just start landing. And he goes 13 unanswered shots. And I'm wondering for Almeida, I'm like, okay, maybe 1, 2, 3. But after 4 strike, 5-1, 6, 7, how many are you going to take before maybe changing your position? And he just kept holding on. And of course, Blaydes is a big guy. It doesn't matter the angle. If he gets some momentum, if he's landing 13 unanswered shots, that's going to hurt you. And that's exactly what happened. And Blaydes saved the day from another possible snooze fest from Almeida, and also showed why he deserves to be in the top of this division. And then the call out afterwards was perfect. He does have unfinished business with Aspinall. Last time they fought, it wasn't really a fight. And now that Aspinall is the champion and Blaydes has that technically, has a win, it sets that up perfectly. The only problem is, does Aspinall want that if it's not for undisputed gold? But ultimately, I think he'll have to defend the interim belt against someone because the Jones and Stipe fight's going to take a long time to make, and then it's going to take a long time for them to be ready to fight again. So Aspinall, Blaydes, defending the interim belt, let's do it. Gamrot, RDA. Honestly, for me, the biggest takeaway was Gamrot getting clipped early and still being able to finish takedowns and controlling after that. Just showing that resilience was good to see from Gamrot. But ultimately, it wasn't a huge statement. Maybe a rematch with Dariush right now would actually be good timing. Muhnoz and Phillips. Phillips showed some beautiful combos. Although he did slow down a little bit after that first round, he got his breath again and put on a pretty good performance. I really like what I saw from Phillips. He's a fun guy to watch. Then we go to Pereira, and I think Pereira had the best walkout of the night. That dance routine was awesome. And I don't know why Dana was hating on Pereira and MVP's walkouts, because they're fun and unique and it adds flavor to the broadcast overall. And not only did he have a good dance and walkout, he had the same energy and performance there than he did in the cage. Dominated to get the quick finish. Super impressive from him. Then we go to the UFC debutant Despaigne, and the thing is, I actually missed the fight because it was so short. My stream lagged as soon as the fight started. As soon as I refreshed it and put it back on, the fight was over. He won. And it's the continued story of Despaigne just overwhelming his opponent with massive bombs. Even when he fell going backwards, he clipped his opponent twice to finish the fight. And I'm like, this is insane. And honestly, people made the Ngannou comparisons. It was Ngannou-esque just in terms of the wild, like, it's not super technical, even though he is a great Taekwondo fighter. Those strikes itself in the fight in the pocket weren't super technical, but he just clipped him. And he's a fighter that thrives in the chaos. Of course, the question is if he fights someone who can see those strikes coming and also hit you back and box you, you know, what's going to happen? Is he going to be a guy that it's either going to be, I'm going to take you out or I'm going to get taken out bad? Either way, he's entertaining, and I can't wait to see him continue in the UFC. Then Joanne Wood and Moroz was a dogfight. Like, that was a dogfight. If you're going to end your career, that's the perfect way to end your career, with a slug-out dogfight, get the win. UFC 299, a great night. It made up for watching Ngannou the day before get absolutely slept. Like, it cured me. 299 cured me. Super fun, super entertaining. It delivered exactly to our expectations, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Awesome card, awesome fights. I was happy with all the results. Let me know what you guys think and what you thought about it. Appreciate you guys. Peace out.